In the quiet corridors of Stanford University, a chilling mystery began to unfold on the night of October 12, 1974. A young woman named Arlis Perry, full of life and promise, walked into the Stanford Memorial Church for a moment of solitude and prayer. Little did anyone know, this night would mark the beginning of one of the most haunting and tragic mysteries the campus had ever seen. Arlis, a newlywed and a devoted Christian, sought solace in the sacred space, unaware of the dark presence lurking in the shadows. As the clock ticked past midnight, her husband, Bruce Perry, grew increasingly worried when she didn't return home. He decided to search for her, retracing her steps to the church. What Bruce discovered would forever alter the lives of those who knew Arlis and send shockwaves through the community. The scene he encountered was nothing short of a nightmare, one that would haunt the university grounds for decades to come. Join us as we delve into the chilling ritual murder of Arlis Perry, a tale of sinister secrets, unanswered questions, and a dark chapter in Stanford's history that refuses to be forgotten. As the clock struck midnight, the tranquil silence of the Stanford Memorial Church was shattered by the sinister events that were about to unfold. Arlis Perry, seeking solace and clarity, entered the sacred space, unaware that this would be her final refuge. The church, usually a place of peace and reflection, was now a setting of impending doom. Arlis's footsteps echoed through the empty hall, each step bringing her closer to her tragic fate. The dimly lit church cast long shadows, creating an eerie atmosphere that seemed to whisper of the horrors to come. Arlis knelt to pray, her thoughts filled with the minor argument she had with Bruce earlier that evening. Little did she know, a malevolent presence was lurking nearby, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As Arlis immersed herself in prayer, the dark figure moved silently, blending into the shadows. The minutes ticked by, and the tension in the air grew thicker. Suddenly, the tranquility was broken by a swift and violent attack. Arlis was overpowered, her cries for help swallowed by the vast emptiness of the church. The brutality of the assault was unimaginable. Arlis, a woman of faith and purity, was subjected to unspeakable horrors. Her body was violated and positioned in a grotesque manner, with candles arranged around her in a ritualistic display. The scene was a macabre tableau, a chilling testament to the evil that had invaded the sacred space. As the night wore on, the church stood silent once more, now a tomb for the young woman who had sought peace within its walls. The dark figure vanished into the night, leaving behind a scene of terror that would haunt the campus for decades. The discovery of Arlis Perry's lifeless body the next morning would send shockwaves through Stanford University, marking the beginning of a mystery that would baffle investigators and torment those who knew her. The night of terror had ended, but the nightmare was far from over. Join us as we continue to unravel the chilling ritual murder of Arlis Perry, a story of darkness, unanswered questions, and a haunting legacy that refuses to be forgotten. The morning of October 13th, 1974, began like any other at Stanford University. Students prepared for classes, the campus buzzed with activity, and the sun cast a warm glow over the historic buildings. But inside the Stanford Memorial Church, a scene of unimaginable horror awaited discovery. It was around 5:45 a.m. when Stephen Crawford, a campus security guard, made his routine rounds. As he approached the church, he noticed something unusual. The doors, which should have been locked, were slightly ajar. His heart pounded as he entered, the silence of the early morning amplifying the sense of dread that hung in the air. Crawford's flashlight beam cut through the dim interior, revealing the stunning architecture and stained glass windows. But his focus was on the shadows and the eerie stillness that seemed to permeate the space. As he moved deeper into the church, he saw it. Near the altar, the lifeless body of Arlis Perry lay in a grotesque tableau. The scene was beyond comprehension. Arlis's body had been violated and positioned in a ritualistic manner, with candles placed around her in a macabre display. The ice pick used in the attack was still lodged in her head, a chilling testament to the brutality she had endured. Nearby, satanic symbols added an even more sinister element to the crime. Crawford's initial shock quickly turned to action as he called for backup. The church, once a sanctuary of peace, was now a crime scene swarming with police officers and detectives. The investigation began immediately, with authorities meticulously documenting the gruesome details and collecting evidence. News of the murder spread rapidly, sending shockwaves through the campus and the surrounding community. Students and faculty were gripped by fear and disbelief. How could such an atrocity occur in a place meant for reflection and solace? The discovery of Arlis Perry's body marked the beginning of a dark chapter in Stanford's history, one that would haunt the university for decades. The search for answers was only beginning, and the path to justice would be long and fraught with obstacles. As the investigation into the murder of Arlis Perry progressed, one aspect of the crime scene stood out as particularly disturbing: the ritualistic elements that seemed to permeate every detail of the gruesome tableau. It was not just a murder, it was a meticulously crafted display meant to convey a sinister message. The candles, placed in a precise pattern around Arlis's body, were not mere decorations. They were symbols, each one carefully positioned to form an unsettling circle of light in the otherwise darkened church. The flickering flames cast eerie shadows on the walls, adding to the macabre atmosphere. What could be the meaning behind this chilling arrangement? Was it a form of dark worship, or perhaps a twisted attempt to summon something malevolent? Nearby, investigators found symbols that hinted at a deeper, more horrifying context. Satanic markings, crudely drawn yet unmistakable, were discovered on the church floor. These symbols, often associated with occult rituals, suggested that the killer had a specific, perhaps even ritualistic motive. The presence of these markings added a layer of fear and confusion to an already terrifying scene. The ice pick, still lodged in Arlis's head, was another element that defied explanation. This tool, not typically associated with murder, pointed to a premeditated and calculated act of violence. The brutality of the attack, combined with the ritualistic staging, indicated that this was not a random act, but a deliberate and sinister execution. As investigators pieced together the evidence, they were faced with more questions than answers. Who could have committed such a heinous crime? Was it the work of a lone individual, or was there a larger, more sinister group involved? The ritualistic elements suggested a deeper, darker motive, one that was not easily understood. The community was left to grapple with the horrifying reality that such evil could exist in their midst. The fear and uncertainty that followed the discovery of Arlis Perry's body were palpable, as students and faculty alike tried to make sense of the incomprehensible. As the investigation into the murder of Arlis Perry began, the Stanford community was gripped by fear and uncertainty. The brutal and ritualistic nature of the crime suggested that the perpetrator was not only dangerous, but also deeply disturbed. The police were under immense pressure to solve the case quickly and restore a sense of safety to the campus. The initial focus of the investigation was on those closest to Arlis. Her husband, Bruce Perry, was immediately questioned. Despite their minor argument on the night of the murder, Bruce was cooperative and forthcoming with the investigators. He provided a detailed account of their evening together, including Arlis's decision to visit the Stanford Memorial Church alone. However, Bruce had a solid alibi, and no evidence pointed to his involvement in the crime. Next, the investigators turned their attention to the security personnel on duty that night. Stephen Crawford, the security guard who discovered Arlis's body, was among the first to be questioned. His account of the event seemed straightforward. He had locked the church doors at midnight and found Arlis's body during his routine check the following morning. Crawford's demeanor was calm and professional, and he was quickly ruled out as a suspect, or so it seemed at the time. As the days went by, the investigation expanded to include other potential suspects. Students, faculty members, and even local residents were interviewed. Some recalled seeing a suspicious figure lurking near the church on the night of the murder, but these leads proved to be dead ends. The lack of concrete evidence and the absence of a clear motive made the case increasingly difficult to solve. The police also explored the possibility that the murder was linked to a cult or a group involved in occult practices. The satanic symbols found at the scene suggested that the killer might have been part of such a group. However, this theory led to more questions than answers, as no known cult activities had been reported in the area. Despite the exhaustive efforts of the investigators, the case grew cold. The initial flurry of leads and suspects yielded no definitive answers, and the community was left in a state of limbo. The fear and uncertainty that had gripped Stanford in the wake of Arlis Perry's murder lingered, casting a long shadow over the campus. As we continue to delve into this chilling case, we will explore how advances in forensic technology and renewed investigative efforts eventually led to a breakthrough. The search for justice for Arlis Perry would span decades, but the determination of those seeking the truth never wavered. As news of Arlis Perry's brutal murder spread, shockwaves rippled through the Stanford community and beyond. The once serene and secure atmosphere of the university was shattered, replaced by a pervasive sense of fear and unease. Students, faculty, and local residents were left grappling with the horrifying reality that such a heinous crime could occur in their midst. The media quickly descended upon Stanford, with reporters eager to cover every grim detail of the case. Headlines screamed of the ritualistic elements of the murder, fueling speculation and fear. The public's fascination with the macabre aspects of the crime led to an influx of sensationalist coverage, which only served to heighten the anxiety felt by the community. Interviews with students and faculty revealed a campus in mourning. Many spoke of Arlis Perry's kind nature and her deep faith, struggling to comprehend how such a tragedy could befall someone so innocent. Candlelight vigils were held in her memory, with hundreds gathering to pay their respects and seek solace in the company of others equally affected by the loss. Local authorities faced immense pressure to solve the case, as the community demanded answers and justice for Arlis. Rumors began to circulate, with some suggesting that the murder was the work of a satanic cult or a deranged individual with a vendetta against the university. The lack of concrete evidence and the slow pace of the investigation only fueled these speculations, leading to an atmosphere of distrust and suspicion. In the midst of this turmoil, Bruce Perry, Arlis's grieving husband, became a focal point for both sympathy and scrutiny. The media's relentless coverage of his every move added to his burden, as he struggled to cope with the loss of his beloved wife while under the intense glare of public attention. Despite the fear and uncertainty, the Stanford community showed remarkable resilience. Support groups were formed, and counseling services were made available to help students and staff navigate their grief and fear. The university administration took steps to enhance campus security, hoping to restore a sense of safety and normalcy. As we continue to uncover the layers of this chilling case, we will explore how the community's reaction and the media's portrayal influenced the investigation and the search for justice. The impact of Arlis Perry's murder extended far beyond the confines of Stanford, leaving an indelible mark on all who were touched by this tragic event. As the years passed, the murder of Arlis Perry remained an unsolved enigma, a cold case that haunted the Stanford community and law enforcement alike. Despite the initial flurry of activity and media attention, the investigation gradually lost momentum, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and fading leads. Detectives and forensic experts revisited the case multiple times, hoping that new technology or fresh perspectives might unravel the mystery. Yet, each promising lead seemed to end in frustration. The case grew colder with each passing year, and Arlis Perry's family and friends were left to grapple with the anguish of not knowing who had taken her life or why. The lack of progress in the investigation led to numerous theories and speculations. Some believed that the murder was the work of a satanic cult, while others suspected a lone, deranged individual. The ritualistic elements of the crime only added to the intrigue and confusion, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Despite the passage of time, Arlis Perry's murder remained a topic of discussion and speculation within the Stanford community and beyond. True crime enthusiasts and amateur sleuths pored over the details, hoping to find the missing piece of the puzzle that had eluded investigators for decades. The case became a haunting legend, a reminder of the darkness that had once invaded the hallowed grounds of Stanford University. In the absence of concrete answers, the memory of Arlis Perry was kept alive through vigils, memorials, and the unwavering determination of those who sought justice on her behalf. Her story served as a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring impact of unresolved tragedies. As we continue to explore the layers of this chilling case, we will delve into the breakthroughs that eventually brought a glimmer of hope to those who had waited so long for answers. The journey to uncover the truth about Arlis Perry's murder is a testament to the persistence and resilience of those who refused to let her story be forgotten. In the decades that followed Arlis Perry's murder, the case seemed to be at an eternal standstill. But in 2018, a breakthrough occurred that would change everything. Advances in forensic technology provided new hope for a case that had long grown cold. Forensic experts re-examined the evidence collected from the crime scene. Among the items was a crucial piece of evidence: DNA. This new analysis led investigators to a shocking revelation, one that would finally point them toward the person responsible for the heinous crime. The DNA matched with Stephen Crawford, a security guard who had been on duty the night of Arlis Perry's murder. Crawford, who had discovered Arlis's body, had long been a figure of interest but never conclusively linked to the crime, until now. This revelation sent shockwaves through the Stanford community and beyond. Finally, there was a name, a face, and a connection that made sense. The breakthrough was a mix of relief and horror for those who had waited so long for answers. Authorities moved quickly to apprehend Crawford, hoping to bring him to justice and provide some semblance of closure to Arlis Perry's family and friends. But just as it seemed that justice was within reach, tragedy struck again. Stephen Crawford took his own life as authorities closed in, leaving behind more questions than answers. The true motive behind the ritualistic murder of Arlis Perry may never be fully understood, but the identification of Crawford provided a crucial piece of the puzzle. The breakthrough in DNA evidence was a testament to the persistence of those who never gave up on finding the truth. As the DNA evidence conclusively pointed to Stephen Crawford, the authorities knew they had to act swiftly. They prepared to arrest him, hoping to finally close a case that had haunted the Stanford community for decades. On June 28, 2018, law enforcement officials moved in on Crawford's residence, ready to apprehend him and bring him to justice. The tension was palpable as officers approached his door. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, the chance to finally hold someone accountable for the brutal murder of Arlis Perry. But as they closed in, the situation took a tragic and unexpected turn. Realizing that his time had run out, Stephen Crawford made a fateful decision. As officers surrounded his home, he took his own life, leaving behind a trail of questions that would never be fully answered. The shock of his suicide reverberated through the community, adding another layer of sorrow to an already heartbreaking story. For Arlis Perry's family and friends, Crawford's death was a bitter pill to swallow. On one hand, they finally had a name and a face to associate with the horrific crime. On the other hand, they were robbed of the opportunity to see justice served in a court of law. The closure they had longed for was incomplete, marred by the final act of a desperate man. In the days that followed, the community grappled with mixed emotions: relief that the case was finally solved, anger at the lack of a trial, and a renewed sense of grief for the life that was so senselessly taken. Memorial services were held, and vigils were organized in honor of Arlis Perry, a young woman whose life and death had left an indelible mark on Stanford University. As the dust settled, the story of Arlis Perry and Stephen Crawford became a somber chapter in the annals of true crime. It was a tale that highlighted the advancements in forensic science, the persistence of dedicated investigators, and the enduring quest for justice, even when it seemed out of reach. The final act in this tragic saga was both a resolution and a reminder. A resolution that brought some answers to a long-standing mystery, and a reminder that the quest for justice is never straightforward. The death of Stephen Crawford closed one chapter, but left many pages unwritten, with questions that may never find answers. As we look back on this chilling story, we remember Arlis Perry not just as a victim, but as a symbol of resilience and the enduring human spirit. Her story continues to resonate, serving as a poignant reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places and the light that persists through the pursuit of truth and justice. The tragic case of Arlis Perry is more than just a chilling mystery. It's a reflection of the darker aspects of society and the human condition. As we look back on this harrowing story, it's important to consider the broader implications and the lessons we can draw from it. Arlis Perry's murder was not just a crime against an individual, it was a crime against a community. The impact of her death rippled through Stanford University and beyond, affecting countless lives and leaving a lasting mark on the institution. It serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerability that exists even in places we consider safe and secure. The case also highlights the advancements in forensic science and the importance of persistence in the quest for justice. Despite the passage of decades, the relentless efforts of investigators and the development of DNA technology eventually brought some answers to a case that seemed destined to remain unsolved. This progress underscores the critical role of science and dedication in solving crimes and delivering justice. But perhaps the most poignant aspect of this story is the resilience of the human spirit. Arlis Perry's family and friends never gave up hope, and their unwavering determination to find the truth is a testament to the enduring power of love and memory. Their journey through grief, frustration, and ultimately a bittersweet resolution is a powerful reminder of the strength that can be found in the face of unimaginable loss. As we reflect on the legacy of Arlis Perry, we are reminded of the importance of community, vigilance, and the ongoing pursuit of truth. Her story is a haunting chapter in the annals of true crime, but it is also a call to action, a call to remember the victims, support the quest for justice, and strive for a society where such tragedies are less likely to occur. In the end, the case of Arlis Perry is a somber reflection of the complexities of human nature and the shadows that can lurk in even the most unexpected places. It is a story that continues to resonate, urging us to remain vigilant, compassionate, and committed to justice.